NASA plans to put humans on Mars by 2030 and has already begun to test the limits of its astronauts. But we may have to take more drastic steps, including modifications to the body and mind, if we are ever to succeed in visiting our inhospitable neighbor. And once we arrive on the red planet, its unique environment could force rapid evolutionary changes, creating a whole new species, experts claim. Cognitive scientist Konrad Shawczyk at the University of Information Technology and Management in Warsaw, Poland, believes that preparations being carried out by NASA come nowhere near to a realistic simulation of the conditions that they will face. He suggests that electronic devices to enhance the senses and drugs to dull panic and other emotional responses may be needed to successfully complete the trip, and any humans who choose to stay may evolve into a separate species. According to evolutionary biologist Scott Solomon, Dr. Solomon, who works at Rice University in Houston, believes that the Martian climate will cause a darkening in our skin through carotenoid pigments found in bright yellow and orange foods like squash and carrots, which will be grown on the planet, and our bones may thicken to cope with reduced levels of gravity. While these changes would take millions of years to occur on Earth, Dr. Solomon argues that they could happen within 6,000 years on Mars. Mars is hit by 6 times the annual amounts of radiation on Earth, and this may help to trigger the accelerated changes. Dr. Solomon has released a book which deals with the future evolution of humanity. Speaking in it, the Texan scientist said, "This happens routinely to animals and plants isolated on islands. Think of Darwin's famous finches. But while speciation on islands can take thousands of years, the accelerated mutation rate on Mars and the stark contrasts between conditions on Mars and Earth would likely speed up the process, as well as the physical and mental challenges any visitors to Mars will face. There are a series of unique problems which permanent residents may need to solve." Dr. Shawczyk is lead author of a paper published in the journal Space Policy, which looked into the political and legal challenges of establishing a colony on Mars. The social dimensions of future colonies are of particular concern to the professor, who works at UITM University in Warsaw, Poland. Among his predictions, Dr. Shawczyk estimates that a population of 500 people would be needed to establish a large enough colony to avoid inbreeding, according to reports in Seeker. In an interview with the website, he said, "We cannot simulate the same physical and environmental conditions to reconstruct the Martian environment. I mean such traits like Martian microgravitation or radiation exposure. Consequently, we cannot predict physical and biological effects of humans living on Mars. A human being is a social animal and he lives in a group. Group problems affect many challenges and troubles, and we should consider now how we can prevent such typical human problems like conflicts, wars, cheating, etc." NASA has been running a series of experiments in anticipation of its planned 2030 manned mission to Mars. Some have focused on placing people in inhospitable climates like Antarctica, or living for prolonged periods on the International Space Station. Astronauts Scott Kelly and Mikhail Kornienko spent a year on the station, returning to Earth in March 2016, in a bid to better understand the long-term effects living in space has on the human body. The mission ran at the same time as NASA's twin study, in which Kelly's body was compared to his brother Mark's, who stayed on Earth. Because identical twins have exactly the same DNA sequences, researchers were able to closely study exactly how space travel affects the human body. The Kellys were subjected to 10 experiments in 4 areas: human physiology, behavioral health, microbiology, and molecular. NASA's expeditions to Mars are estimated to last 3 years in total. But the space agency is not the only organization with their eyes on the planet. The Mars One project aims to send a manned crew to the red planet with a view to establishing a permanent presence. The project has been controversial from the outset, with many describing it as a publicity-seeking scam. Its founders claim it is a route to establishing a permanent colony on our planetary neighbor, although they will first need to raise almost $5 billion to get a 4-man crew onto Mars, and the project has suffered numerous setbacks, with the timelines shifting further back. The first component of the mission, an unmanned craft testing mission capabilities, was set to launch in 2018 but has been pushed back multiple times and now looks unlikely before 2022. The project is made up of 2 arms: British company Mars One Ventures and the Dutch Mars One Foundation.